when we're talking about reframing problems, early stage businesses, again, reactionary. It's okay, well, this happened. It's like, okay, but we can fix that it happened, but we also need to reframe the problem to say, why did it happen?
Mhm.
And what's going on that it happened? Is this the first time it happened? Because if it's the first time, that's a sign. If it's happened 2 or 3 times, now it's a pattern. And we need to unpack what that pattern is and what's the common thread in it to be able to figure out how to be able to actually address it. So I know I geek out on that kind of stuff. What are you seeing when it comes to reframe the problem? Because you're really, really great at being able to do that for people.
Ooh, yeah, it's you're really teaching people, like, how to pivot gracefully. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of people and just to really kind of slow down
Mm,
and really take in as much of the data points as they can and to identify, like, what's actually going on here? Like,
yeah.
what's truly the problem? What's the issue? Whatever that thing might be, I think a lot of times society plays into that a lot, right? Because people want quick fixes. They're
Hmm.
like, "This isn't working. My marketing strategy is not working." I am posting 2 to 3 posts on social media a week just like they told me to, and I'm not getting clients,
Yeah.
right? And you come to them as a strategist and you're like, "Your clients, they're not on TikTok, so you're wasting time." Or you just spent a lot of money for someone to do all of your marketing materials, and all of it's in the lens of your very highly technical business. Your customers and clients have no idea what it's saying.
Right.
Right, so it's the perspective, it's like you're trying to hurry and get to nowhere in a sense, right? But you need that strategist or someone to kinda help you kinda come in, once again, bring in that different perspective. But if you're trying to rush and you don't have all your data points, you don't have the right perspective, you don't know the lens at which you should look at it, you're gonna waste a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I put even more effort behind trying to help people avoid that because I know how much money I've wasted. And I went into it with my eyes open. Like I've had businesses ever since I was a child, but it's a difference between, some side hustles where like if something goes wrong, I still have my check versus jumping with both feet and starting a full-time business and understanding there's a different level of consequences. And that's when some of that stuff really starts to kick in. Yeah, I think again, I think you're really great at being able to reframe things and allow people the grace to be able to figure out it's not only that, it's okay to get something wrong, but it's also showing them how they got it wrong and being able to point them in the right direction of it without making them feel less than. And that's one of the things that stood out from our original conversation. And I think it's something that you probably excel at. Um, I would say, if I'm being honest, I have my good days and bad days with that, depending on what it is, because I'll have a conversation with people, and I joked with you where I said, I'll say something to someone and then I'm listening to see if they retained it. And if they didn't retain it, then it's okay. Then that means I need to figure out what parts you retained, what parts you didn't, so I know how to be able to work with you to be able to get you to that point. I've come to realize that there are just some people where I'm probably not going to be the best person. I move at that New York pace, and sometimes it's just it's gonna be painful, and I don't want to be frustrated, and I don't want them to be frustrated, so I have to remind myself that my starting point isn't their starting point,
Mhm.
and in those situations, it requires me reminding myself of that, and I've learned to script things when I go to have a response because scripting it makes me slow down when I'm talking as opposed to saying it out as fast as I think it because, on the corporate side, I got paid to speak faster because we were billing by the hour and we had to cover a lot of ground. When you
Yes.
get to the entrepreneurial side, you have to slow things down for people because this isn't something that's familiar to them. It's something that they have to get familiar with. And the only way that you get through that is getting iterations and having someone walk you through it so that you have the ability to be able to say, well, I've been here before. What did I do the last time? And start to go through those checkpoints. In my experience of having conversations with you, watching you do other interviews and things like that, I think that's something that you actually excel at. So
Thank
when
you.
someone starts off with the wrong question, what changes once you actually point out what's actually going on and they start to realize that they were asking the wrong question to solve a problem? And I'll package it better than I did before. You mentioned like someone going to TikTok and saying my marketing is not working. I'll give an example. I had someone reach out to me and they were saying, "Oh, your YouTube, this podcast, matter of fact, yeah, you're not getting a lot of you're not getting a lot of clicks and likes and engagement." And my thing is, I'm a service provider that has a podcast. I'm not doing this to be able to get like, I'm not a content creator. I'm not doing it for that purpose. I'm doing it to show people what it is that I know. Here are some great people that you should probably know. And if I based it on volume, then that's just more for me to have to sift through on the back end of people that probably aren't going to be good fits. And then that's going to eat up more of my time and make it harder for me to be able to work on the projects that I want to be able to work on. So for me, when we're talking about tactics and things like that, there's a difference between content creators and service and product providers. Like content creators need volume, service and product providers, they need quality. So there's volume and then there's quality. So they were trying to tell me that they can get me volume. And I'm like, I think you've misdiagnosed the situation. And even when I explained it after that, they still went back to that as a default. And then that's when the New Yorker in me got kicked in. And I'm just like, I can't even have this conversation anymore. I answered your question and you heard what you wanted to hear in it. And you repeated back the very thing that I just finished saying. That's
Uh,
not what I need. You're very good at being able to hear what someone needs and being able to explain it back to them in a way that they can process it and then start to walk through what's next. So when they get it wrong and then you're able to point out what it looks like, what actually changes in that conversation? I know what it feels like for me. What does it feel like for you?
for me, I love talking to people and getting that aha moment,
Yes.
right? Whether that's, some of the ambitious early stage entrepreneurs all the way to like the mid-market, businesses that I work with. Even when I was in my corporate job, it would just be, when I was a technical program manager, it's you're talking to people and I'm gleaning, I'm answering questions, and then I'm responding back to them with a perspective that they didn't think of. And what it looks like is them usually grabbing a notepad and a pen and start taking notes, right? And
Yes. Yeah.
so now I'm like, now we're getting somewhere. And because I'm a very structured thinker, I don't like to leave a conversation without next steps. Like, okay, how can we structure this into a plan? And then that's how we go from there. And that's where I want it to go, right? I don't
Mhm.
want it to be wasted. I want to inspire, but that's the first step for me, right? Now let's turn that inspiration into something tangible and how it's going to actually benefit your business moving forward. And that could be for any level of business owner.